If you're out there trying to learn HTML and you're going through freeCodeCamp's workshops, this video is going to be for you because we're going through steps number 21 through 36. We're going to test out everything and we're going to explain a few things. So if you're new to the channel, my name's Rob. I'm a coding instructor. I'm with PreCodeCamp, and that's what I try to do is I try to help others become developers, and going through this by yourself, it is daunting. So that's why I am making some of these videos. So everything's going to be chaptered out down below. Make sure you take a look at that because sometimes it's just a few steps that you might be missing, but you can go ahead and skip to them if you take a look at the description. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the first one that we have to deal with. All right. So we're inside of freeCodeCamp's building a hotel feedback form. And this is what we're working towards here, right? We're going to be building out this section here, actually the rest of the page, but where we're at right now in our steps is right here, is this field set that we see right here. So when we get ready to go to step number 21, it's going to have us build this section out here, okay? All right, let's go ahead and go to that step. So step number 21. Before I go on with step number 21, please take this time right now. Go ahead and hit the like button. It really helps out the algorithm, and it's something that's free for you to do. It just takes a quick second. Thank you, everybody who hits the like button. Now, step number 21 here, it says that in this section, we're going to have the form where we're going to ask the users, why did they choose the particular hotel? The users will have the opportunity to select multiple options. We want to first start off with a field set element, and then inside the field set, we want to have a legend. And so we're just going to follow our exact same things that we have been doing before. So we're going to do a field set, and then we're going to close that off. Okay. Next is we want to put a legend in there. And so we're just going to go ahead and on my line 44, I'm going to do legend, and then I'm going to close that off. Now that it is closed off, I can go ahead and enter what it wants us to put in here. Now I'm not going to type this out because I want to make sure that this is exact, because when we click this check the code, it is going to check to see, did we put everything in there correctly? So I want to make sure that it is in there. I'm going to go ahead and check our code. There we go. Congratulations. We're ready to go on to the next one. And you can see the field set is already populating right here with what we did with the legend. All right, let's move on to this next step. All right, we are on step number 22 here, and it looks like it's a lot of stuff. And again, we're going to take things step by step here, but let's go ahead and read what we have. So when we want the user to select multiple options from a list, you can use checkboxes. Yes, that is very true. And here's an example of some checkboxes. And again, we're going through the programming process. There's a lot of patterns that you want to take a look at and see. And so we have the field set. Okay, we did that already. Then we did the legend. Okay, perfect. And then the last part here is we have a label with what we want to visibly show the user. And then we have an input of a checkbox, and the ID is pizza. And then we also have a name that we can see right here. And let me see if I can scroll over to the right here. And then we have a value that's associated with it. Then we have that pattern going again of let's go ahead and do another label followed by an input. Now, one of the things that I do want to bring to your attention here, and I'm assuming that it's going to talk about it down below, that the name of food is the same in both. And I wonder what that does. So let's keep on reading and maybe it will explain. So it says on here that the value attribute is used to specify a value that will be sent to the server and once it is submitted. So again, nothing that we're going to see on here. We would probably see this on the back end of wherever this form is going to be submitted to. And the value, you will need to change it based upon what you want it to display on your backend. Okay, it has nothing to do with visually what it has on here. Next, it says below the legend, go ahead and add a label. You want to make sure that the text says social media and utilize the for ads. Below the label, you want to add a checkbox with a name, a value, and we want to set it to ads. So let's go ahead and go through this. So again, if we're following the example up here, I'm going to go ahead and grab the input and the label. And notice that I am selecting just below, but not going up to the next label. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. And I'm just going to modify this based upon how I need to make things. So let me go ahead and scroll up. So It says that I want to make the label for social media ads. So that's what I want to go in between the tags. So instead of the capitalized P for pizza, I want to put that here. And now I see I have a social media ads and a check mark. The for, I need this to match up here with the ID, and we need this to say ads. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the input here. And the input, obviously, we want to make sure that we do have a checkbox, so the type checkbox, ID, and the name and the value, all set that to ads. So we'll do ads, and then we'll do ads. Okay, all right. I believe that this should give us a good green check mark here, or a blue check mark, for us to be able to move on. I will explain in the next steps, once we have another input field, on what do these actually do and mean, because it is a little confusing. It would be confusing to me as a beginner looking at an ID with ads, a name with ads, and a value with ads. So I think once we get another one in here, you're going to see the difference and what do they mean, okay? So let's go ahead and go to the next step. Step number 23. It says, let's go and do another label. We're going to do this one with personal recommendation. And with the for attribute, it wants us to utilize recommendation. Okay. Next, below that label, let's go ahead and add an input field, and the ID name value is all going to be recommendation. So let's go ahead. I'm going to grab the label and input, and then I'm just going to tweak it because I already know that one works. I'm going to go ahead and put it here. Okay, so instead of the ads, it wants us to do recommendation. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. And then for the text that we see for the user visiting our web page, we want this right here. So I went ahead and copied and pasted it. And then as far as the input, it wants the ID to be recommendation. It wants the name to be recommendation, and then it wants the value to be recommendation. So I told you that I was going to explain a few things on this next one, just because now we have two of them on here. And the thing that I wanted to bring up for this step is that the label, when we're using this for, we're trying to match this up with the ID. Okay, this is how we're going to associate it, meaning that if I click on the social media text here, it knows to check mark that input box. And that's how I can test things out to make sure that they are linked together. Okay, so the for has to match the ID in order for it to be associated with each other. As far as the type goes, that's just going to be giving us that checkbox option. And when we come to the name, okay, this is what we're going to see on the backend database. And if we're looking at things such as a table, maybe this is what you would see in the recommendation column, okay? And then this is the value that you see here. Again, I really wish that they would change a few things up on here to maybe make it a little more realistic and different, to know that those all three things don't need to be the same in order for things to work out properly. So, again, if I was doing this, I would probably change this to social media ads and put that as the value, because that's what I want to be stored into the database. Okay, but freeCodeCamp is making you just name them all three the same. Just know that typically you can choose whatever you want them to be, but just know that they don't all have to match. Okay, let's go and check our code. Congratulations, we're moving on to the next step. Sometimes you guys get this pop-up. It says, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to PreCodeCamp, and make sure you follow PreCodeCamp on Facebook. So make sure you do all those things, okay? All right, let's move on to the step number 24 that's behind this. And it says on here, we're going to be adding a couple more check boxes. So it says, let's add a label and have it be for the location, and then an input field for the location. So again, a lot of repetitive details. So let's go ahead and do the following. I'm going to go ahead again. I'm going to grab the ads one, and that way it's a smaller amount of text and I can go ahead and tweak it some. So I'm going to come over here and just paste it. So the very first one, it says that it wants it to be location. So let me go ahead and put that in here. And Utilizing the for attribute, it wants location also. Okay. Is the ID and name and ads, it all wants it to be location. All right, all of those are in there. I'm going to hit the enter key a couple times and I'm going to paste again what was on my clipboard. So instead of the social media one, this one's reputation. I'm going to go ahead and grab the text here, and this is going to be down below, reputation, and the next values that I'm going to change on here. So instead of the for on ads, I'm going to put reputation. The ID is going to be reputation, name, and value. Okay. Let's go ahead and test these out real quick just with ourselves. We know the first two are good because it passed those tests. And let's go ahead and choose location, and that association worked, and the reputation association worked. I believe that we should get a check mark for this. There we go. Let's move on to the next step. Step number 25 with building a hotel feedback form for freeCodeCamp. It says that we can set an input field checked by default. By doing this, all we have to utilize is the checked attribute. And so what it's talking about here is this example that you can see is all they applied was a checked. And in my mind, how I relate to this is if it's in the input field and we're utilizing the checked attribute, it's just saying, hey, it's true that it's checked. Okay. So that's all we're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this and I'm going to apply it. And you can apply it anywhere. I can put it right over here and it's still going to work out the same. So that's all it was wanting. And let's go ahead and click on the check the code. Congratulations. We're moving on to the next section. Step number 26 just has us adding our very last label. And let's go ahead and grab the ads one again. Now that's on my clipboard. I'm going to go ahead and come down here and paste it. So we don't want the social media ads. We want to have the price. And then all of these other parts here for the ID, name, and value, they will all be set to price. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, those are all done. And then it also talks about, hey, we can go ahead and test all these out. We've been testing them out already as we've been going through it. And the one thing that I will test, good thing I did test here, is we do want this to be price also. Notice that in testing, clicking the label did not automatically check it. And so we fixed it there. So it looks like it's good to go. Let's go ahead and check our code. Congratulations. Let's move on. All right, step number 27 in building a hotel feedback form for freeCodeCamp. It says that in the next section, we're going to go ahead and provide the users the ability to leave a rating for the hotel. Start by adding a new field set element as well as a legend. Start picturing what's going to be going on visually, but we can go ahead and double check what that looks like also right here. So we want something that says ratings, okay? And I believe that it's also going to ask us to put the label in here. So we're just going to get one of these. And if we're future looking, we have a select element down here with a couple of options to choose from. So those are the couple things that we can plan on doing. But in this step specifically, it is just asking for a field set with a legend. And inside the legend, we're going to put ratings. And so again, everything is going to be verbatim on here. So ratings need to be spelled properly. The syntax does matter. Next, we want the label. So let's go ahead and add a label. And on the label, we want this to display this right here. And then don't forget the closing tag on the label. We do want to have an attribute on the label to prepare us for our next step. We want the for, we want to set that equal to service. Okay. I believe that this should get us a check mark if I could spell the word how. All right, perfect. It looks like that shows up perfectly. And then the how was your service. And then we're going to have a drop-down menu. So let's go ahead and check our code for this. Congratulations. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, step number 28. It says when you want the users to make a selection from a drop-down menu, you are going to utilize the select element. And then inside the select element, you have the option elements. And so this sort of reminds me of the unordered list, and then the LIs go inside of it. Okay, it's like they need each other to survive on the document. So you can see here, they do provide us with an example. They have the label. We already did the label up above, okay? And then it says that we can utilize the select. We provide it with an ID, okay? Notice that the ID matches the for. And then the name is what's going to show up on our server side when we go ahead and hit the submit button. It's going to say, hey, for the city column, they chose, and then whatever the value is here, not necessarily the full word that you see right here, okay? So that's where these two things are a little different. But let's see what it wants us to do first. So start by adding a select element with the name and ID attributes set to service. So they're really breaking this down into a couple steps so that way we don't have to do it all together in one big one. And we may have to do that one for the next drop-down menu, but we're going to go ahead and do select, and then we want the ID. We want to set that to service. The name, we want to set that to service also. Okay, and then of course we want to close off the tags. All right, perfect. I believe that should work. But notice that we do get like a little drop-down menu, but nothing's in it. We don't have any options in there. Let's check our code, and congratulations. Let's move on to the next. All right, this is step number 29 in building a hotel feedback form. So inside the select element, we want to add the following options to our corresponding options and values for the attributes. So the option element text, that's what's actually being shown to us as the user visiting the page. And then these are going to be our value attributes. Okay, so let's go ahead and get one done, and then we can go ahead and copy paste and change as we need. So I'm going to go ahead and do option, and it does say that we want the value here. We want to set that to poor, and then we're going to close off the option, and inside or in between the tags, that's where the human readable text goes, and we want poor. Okay. So now we can see that in the drop down, right? We already see poor. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to change things just going through the list that we see here. We have satisfactory. Let me go ahead and add that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the human readable portion of this. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and alter this one for the good. All right. And things that I want you to notice as we're going through this is the values, they're all lowercase, right? The human doesn't get to read that. That's the stuff that's going to go into the database or the email when it gets submitted. All right. Next, we have very good. And notice that we have a hyphen for this one, but there is no hyphen for the human readable portion. And then the last part here is excellent. All right. So we should see all of those appear here. Satisfactory, good, very good, and excellent. All right. Let's go ahead and check our code and see if we made a mistake anywhere. Looks like we didn't. Moving on to the next. Step number 30 in building a hotel feedback form for freeCodeCamp. It says to make an option selected by default, go ahead and add the keyword selected attribute to the option that you want to be selected. All right, makes sense. Notice that we have selected right here. And this really reminds me also of the check mark where we said checked, right? This one says selected. And in my mind, I'm thinking selected equals true. In my mind, that kind of helps me out with, do I need an equal sign on here? I don't, because if I put it on there, it is in fact true. So where does it want it? It wants it on the excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here. Again, the order doesn't matter. I could totally put it at the end of this. Matter of fact, I will just to prove a point, and it will function as normal. You can see that, hey, excellent is selected by default. Go ahead and check our code. Congratulations, we're moving on to the next step. Step number 31, in the hotel feedback form, we should also give the users to rate the food. And so we want to start off by adding a label, which is how was the food. We want to set the for attribute to the food, and then a select element with the ID name both set to food. All right. We've done this before, right? So let's go ahead and knock this out. First, we want the label and we want the for. We want to set that equal to food. And then we want to close this off here. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste in the question that we want to capture. All right, how was the food? Next, it wants us to do a select element. So we'll do a select. It says that the select element needs to have an ID, set that to food. And then we also want the name also set to food. Okay. And then I'm just going to close off the select. All right. I believe that's all that it needs at this point. Let's go ahead and check our code. Congratulations. Let's move on to the next. All right. Step number 32 in building a hotel feedback form for freeCodeCamp, it's going to have us rinse and repeat and do the exact same thing that we did before with this select element, which is, hey, let's have another value rating system of poor all the way to excellent. And it says that we want to make sure that we choose the selected attribute, and we want to set that one on the excellent. So again, all the stuff that we haven't done before, it's all wrapped into one. I'm going to grab these options here because guess what? They don't when it comes to being wrapped in the select, because it already has what does it belong to wrapped into the select. So this one belongs to the service. And then down here on ours, this one belongs to the food, even though the options and the values are the exact same. So again, just copying and pasting, and hopefully you understand that the options that go in between are okay being the same exact that we did before, because the data is going to be associated with the select name. Okay, so this one belongs to food, the other one belongs to service, and that's all because of the name that is wrapping around these options. Okay, let's go and check our code. Congratulations. Let's move on to the next. All right, step number 33. It looks like we're almost done here. It says the last section of the form will allow users to provide additional feedback about the hotel. So we want to start this off. Notice that we're outside of the field set, so we're no longer going to be inside there anymore. But we want to add a label. It should say other comments question mark, and then the for attribute needs to say comments. Okay, notice that is lowercase and it does have an S on there. So let's go ahead and start this off. So we're going to do a label here. The for is going to be set equal to, and then over here, I'm going to go ahead and close off the label so I don't forget. But in between the label is where we want to put other comments. Okay, and that needs to come from this right here. All right, let's go ahead and check our code. Notice that it does show up over there on the right-hand side. Congratulations, we're ready to move on to the next step. Step number 34 in building a hotel feedback form with freeCodeCamp. It introduces the text area element. So the text area element does allow us to have multiple lines for the user to be able to type in things. And something that I do want to draw to your attention, that we're not typing the word input in here and altering a type to text area. There's an actual element for text areas to show up, and that's this right here. There are also a few attributes on here that we haven't been exposed to quite yet, which is rows and then columns. Okay, so if you need to have 4 rows visible, that's what that would be. Okay, 50 columns, that's how wide this text area will be. Of course, it can grow and shrink with the browser. But anyways, it says the rows attribute will specify the visible height of the text area, and it will also apply the column for the width. That's exactly what I just ended up telling you guys. Now, I am going to copy and paste this here, and I'm going to just show you what it looks like when it pops up in here. And we do have the label from before. Our task is don't add any of the attributes quite yet, just do the text area. But I just wanted to show you that, hey, the 4 rows, if we can change this to 40, notice that it just goes super long, right? And if I change this to something else, notice how wide it goes. So that is where these numbers, these extra attributes, they do come from. So as of right now, it does not want any attribute in here, and it said it will be handled in the next step. Let's go ahead and check our code. We got the congratulations. Let's move on to the next section here. Okay, step number 35. We just have this one and one more to go, and then we'll be complete with this workshop here. But the text area, it says for the ID and the name, it wants it to be set to comments. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, now that those are set, it wants us to associate the columns attribute to 30 and the rows to 10. So let's go ahead and do that next. So we'll work on the columns first. All right, now let's move on to the rows. Okay, take a look at the right over here, and it adjusted accordingly on what is visible to us as the user. All right, let's go ahead and check our code. Congratulations. Let's move on to this last step and get done with this. All right, step number 36. This is the last one, and then we're going to be done with this, right? So it says last step, hotel feedback. You're going to need to have a submit button on the form, obviously, right? So let's go ahead and add a button element. So that's going to be button, and then we're going to close off the tag here. What goes in between? We're going to set that to be submit. And so we should see a little submit button over here. And then the type on here, we are going to do this as submit as well. Notice that this is lowercase, so that does need to be lowercase for this to work for the check our code. All right, I believe that is it. Let's go ahead and check our code. There we go, confetti, we did it. All right, so as you can see, we built out that form. It was a pretty easy workshop for us to go to. The form is quite ugly, and again, that's where CSS would come into play, but we're just learning. We just want to learn the bones before we put the skin on, and we don't want to learn too much. So I do want to thank you again for watching. Please make sure that you hit that like button. It really, truly does help out that algorithm, and it lets us know that we're doing a good job here at PreCodeCamp. Take care, and if you run into any issues, comment down below, because we will respond, and you can even message us on Facebook. So take care, and we'll see you in the next video.